Well, it's a joy to be here with Michelle and Julie, and y'all are both PhDs, but I'm going to say y'all are about the most down-to-earth PhD people I've ever been around. It's fun having y'all come down, and y'all represent the Clemson Food Safety and Nutrition team, and so tell us what you're going to do with us tonight.
Well, tonight we're making a great recipe. As promised, there's only 3 ingredients, so it's very easy to make. This recipe comes from the FNUP program, which is the Expanded Food Nutrition Education Program, and that program is run through our team. We are targeting low resource population with that, and so this is a pretty easy and low-cost recipe.
So what's your goal with the FNEP clients?
Well, we want to teach them how to stretch their budget, their food dollars, and so we want to make sure that they have a good process for doing that, and then teaching them about good nutrition and good ways, inexpensive ways to get a lot of nutrition in their diets.
We had an FNEP agent in our office that I hope we will again one day, and she did a lot of stuff on a George Foreman grill, and her clients loved that, and it was so much more a better way of cooking than frying. So sometimes it's just simple steps like that.
It is, yes.
But tonight it's too hot to fry, so let's do something else.
Yeah, so we're going to do our fruit smoothie. This can be a great breakfast, a great snack. My husband actually makes these for our family at home, and they're very simple and straightforward. So the first ingredient in our smoothie is fruit, and you can choose any kind of fruit. This is, obviously we've chosen strawberries and blueberries today, but you could choose fresh peaches or watermelons or grapes, bananas. You could even choose frozen fruits if there's nothing that you like really meets your fancy when you're at the market. Anything local, anything fresh, it will work in here.
All right, but so we're going to use about a cup of this, and you said that counts as a serving.
Correct, yes. This would give you a serving of fruit. The dietary guidelines for Americans ask that we try to get at least 2 cups of fruit per day.
All right.
And the first thing we need to do, though, before we add the fruit is to prepare the fruit and get it ready to go.
Y'all must wash your hands, people.
Yes, we are.
All right, Julie, so tell me about washing your hands.
Yeah, so before I actually selected the produce that I was going to put in our smoothie, I made sure that my hands were clean, and I did that using proper technique. So I rinsed my hands, and I applied my soap, and then I rubbed them together under running water for 20 seconds. That's really the proper way. And then you want to make sure that all of the utensils that you're using are clean and sanitized. So I made sure that the cutting board and the knife and the blender are all ready and clean.
And I think you even are careful. You don't use a cutting board for vegetables that you use for meat. Aren't you kind of careful about your cutting boards?
Yeah, we traditionally recommend using color-coded cutting boards. So we have a certain cutting board that we use for our fresh produce and some that we use for our raw meat. So you want to keep those completely separated.
Okay.
So now that I've got everything clean.
What if we had a cantaloupe or a melon or something?
Yeah, if we had a cantaloupe or a melon, that's a good point. You want to make sure that you clean the outer surface of that. I recommend using a vegetable brush, and you want to you scrub it under running water, cold running water.
Okay.
And the reason you do that is because when you're removing the rind from that, you could actually contaminate the part.
Yeah. And it's been sitting on the ground, and raccoons and things are running around. Okay.
Yeah, so you want to make sure that that is clean.
All right.
And we selected strawberries and blueberries today, and if I was going to wash those, which I did that previously, I put those in a colander and I put them under cold running water, and I just made sure that those were clean. And I could use a vegetable wash that's commercially available, but that's not necessary.
Well, good. I'm glad that's not necessary, because that's a lot of trouble. All right. Well, I'm getting it. Smells so good. Let's get going.
Okay. So while Dr. Northcutt cuts up our strawberries, I'll just show you. We've got a cup of fruit here.
Yes.
And again, the dietary guidelines for Americans recommend 2 cups a day. So if you eat this recipe, you'll be getting half of your fruit for the day.
Wonderful.
So we just add that to our blender.
Okay.
And
now I need calcium in my diet. So
yes, well, good. I'm glad that you mentioned that, because we have the perfect ingredient for you, which is our second ingredient, and this is Greek yogurt. Today we're using non-fat vanilla light Greek yogurt. So if you go to the grocery store, there's all different kinds of yogurt, and so we've chosen Greek yogurt today. And the dietary guidelines want us to get 3 cups of dairy per day, and so yogurt is a great way to do that. And so this smoothie will give us about 30% of our calcium and a good portion of our vitamin D from just this yogurt alone.
Okay, so we're going to add that in on top of
So
our...
if you go to the grocery store and you are confused by yogurts, remember
Well, there
that
are like 1 million of them sitting up there.
there are, yeah. So the Food and Drug Administration actually classifies yogurts only into 3 different categories. The first is traditional, the second is a low fat, and the third is a non-fat.
So that's kind of
And-
like whole milk and skim milk and low fat milk and
yeah,
skim milk.
Sure
Okay,
is.
all right.
And then you can do different modifications to each one of those classes of yogurt. So one of the modifications is the process to convert it into Greek yogurt. And we do that by actually straining it to remove some of the liquid. When we remove some of the liquid from that traditional yogurt or from non-fat or low fat, what we do is we actually remove sodium. So it's 38% lower in sodium.
My goodness.
And it's 40% lower in sugar, which is lactose.
Like milk sugar, yeah,
And,
okay.
and then you also end up with a product that is fantastic because it has twice as much protein.
Oh, so if you need to be careful about either your sugar or your sodium or something like that, that would be a good strategy to take.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, and it tastes good.
And then we've got something sitting over here, and I'm not quite sure what it is.
This is our third ingredient,
Uh-huh.
ingredient 3, as promised. It's the last one, and this is just a liquid to just try to help, thin out the
Yeah, so we
smoothie
can
so that
make
we
it-
can drink
yeah.
it through a straw.
Uh-huh.
And so what we've chosen to use today is unsweetened vanilla almond milk.
Ooh, gosh.
And almond milk does not have quite as much protein as regular cow's milk, but it does give you just as much dairy as a cup of milk and as much calcium and as much vitamin D
Okay.
as
And it
regular
has a
cow's
nice
milk.
just a different flavor.
Yeah, and we've
Okay.
chosen it because it's got kind of
Okay.
a nutty flavor that's a little bit sweet, even though it hasn't had any sugar added to it. So we're
All
just
right.
going to add that to it.
And then I'm going to tell y'all that these gals who are so smart came down here and forgot their blender, and we were so lucky because Terry Sumter, who's our 4-H agent over in Sumter, has a wonderful stationary bicycle blender that she uses when she teaches kids how to cook. So I'm going to run away with this and
Yes.
leave y'all to give more interesting facts to our
Okay,
audience.
great.
Be
Sure.
right back.
So instead of using the almond milk that we used, we could use a variety of other liquids to go in as our third ingredient. One of the common things that people like to use is soy milk. So
Yeah, soy milk is probably the most nutritionally equivalent to cow's milk. But there's also rice milk on the market, or I even found cashew milk at the grocery store the other day. You could also just use juice, but again, because we're trying to get our calcium, we want to make sure that we get our almond milk.
All right, here we go, gals. Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. Okay, so let's take that back over and see if I did enough cycling.
So
with
thanks
this great-
to Amanda for getting us all blended up. And
My
that,
exercise. Now I can easily
Yes.
enjoy this delicious treat.
yes,
I'm
and
gonna
that,
let you take the top off.
it's definitely tricky because you don't want it splashing all over
No,
you.
I sure don't. Oh, it looks like we did a pretty good job.
Oh,
And in the color, oh, and it smells so good coming out. God. I can see why your
deceivingly
husband makes this
simple.
for all of your kids all
Yes,
the time.
yes.
This is really a treat. Well, here's
Cheers.
here's to good food and nutrition.
Enjoy.